綾辻さんの構えを正しい形にくれば、綾辻さんの全てもうワンテンポ速くなる。よし。どう？
少し窮屈な気がする。
Imagine living in a world of magic and being able to fight with a weapon created by your own soul, but you feel like you're the only one who doesn't fit in because you don't possess the same magic powers as everyone else. However, you are still the best swordsman that anyone's ever seen. Our story begins with Iki Kurogane, an aspiring mage knight and flunking Hagen Academy student. Returning to his apartment from jogging, Iki inadvertently walks in on a half-naked girl, Stella Vermilion, changing in his room. When Iki sees Stella half-naked, he wants to return the favor by doing the same, but he gets slapped. After the incident, Academy Director Kurano Shinguji summons Iki and Stella. While being admonished and forced to apologize by Kurano, Iki learns that Stella, a famous A-rank blazer who is the princess of Vermilion Empire, is his new roommate. When Stella announces a set of house rules, which Iki objects to, Kurano has them stage a mock battle, with the loser having to obey the winner unconditionally. Iki accepts despite the disadvantages of his low rank, i.e. being an F-rank blazer, stating that he has to work hard in order to win the 7-star Sword Art Festival. During the mock battle, he demonstrates powerful fighting skills and memorizes Stella's technique, which he uses against her through his technique Blade Steel. As a last resort, Stella activates her noble art, but Iki counters it with his own noble art, outmaneuvers her attacks, and strikes her, winning the battle but collapsing from exhaustion.
それに魔力も上がって。
生きる力の全てを1分に凝縮して絞り尽くす。これが僕の編み出す君の最強を打ち破る。
Later, Kurano visits Stella and explains that, despite Iki's strength, he flunked the Academy's evaluations due to his peculiar style. She then recommends her to follow Iki's style so she can improve. Returning to the apartment, Stella apologizes to Iki for her behavior. He then reminds her of the deal they made for the loser to obey the winner from now on, and then orders her to be his roommate. Iki's younger sister, Shizuku, whom he has not seen in 4 years, arrives at Hagen Academy as a new student. In class, Iki and Stella learn about the selection match for the 7-star Sword Art Festival from their teacher, Yuri Ariki. Afterwards, they meet Shizuku, who surprises them by kissing Iki directly on the mouth, leading to a duel between Stella and Shizuku over the former's relationship with Iki. Shizuku tries telling Stella to stay away from her brother, inadvertently revealing that the Kurogane family treated Iki as if he never existed. The following evening, Shizuku meets her roommate, the effeminate Nagi Alice Arisuen. Meanwhile, Stella asks Iki about what Shizuku said. He explains to her that he was born without any talent in a family that produced great blazers. As a result, he was neglected by his family and later ran away and got lost in a blizzard, but was rescued by his great-grandfather, Ryoma Kurogane, who encouraged him to believe in himself. Afterwards, he strove to become just like Ryoma and was accepted into the academy, but when the Kurogane family discovered it, they pressured the school, which was under the previous academy director at the time, into creating a set of class requirements which were responsible for Iki's failing grades until Kurano became the new academy director, though Kurano is also pressured as a result. Iki then states that his constant harassment will never come to an end. After training with Iki, Stella tries asking him out on a date, but their conversation gets interrupted by a text message sent by Shizuku asking Iki to go shopping with her.
Iki! ってことは明日は土曜日でお休みよね。
そうだね。
二人でほら。
喜んで。
Stella is shocked when Iki accepts the proposal and decides to accompany him. During the shopping trip, Iki has an awkward first meeting with Alice, whose effeminate personality puts him off, but he later praises her for getting Shizuku to open up to other people more. The entire trip is spent with Stella and Shizuku competing to get Iki's attention, with Shizuku seemingly triumphing every time. As the four split up to use the restrooms, Maul is suddenly taken hostage by a group of armed men led by a blazer named Bisho, who demands a large ransom in exchange for the release of the hostages. Kureno authorizes Iki, Stella, Shizuku, and Alice to use their devices to attack the assailants. When Stella intervenes, Bisho subdues her with his device, Judgment Ring, and then forces her to undress in exchange for the freedom of the hostages. Shizuku takes advantage of the gunman's distraction to protect herself, Stella, and the hostages with a wall of water, while Iki slices Bisho's left arm off to prevent him from using Judgment Ring.
一等しら今色はいらない。色彩認識のリソースと必要な情報のみに振り分ける。
When the gunmen retaliate, another blazer, Shizuya Kirihara, arrives and subdues them. Afterwards, Kirihara reveals that Iki had a match against him but ran away, and says that he will be Iki's first opponent. During the selection match, Stella, Shizuku, and Alice easily defeat their opponents. Meanwhile, Iki begins studying Kirihara's noble art, which renders him invisible and makes it difficult to even detect him using the other senses. Iki meets up with Alice and confides in her about his match against Kirihara. During the previous school year, when the Kurogane family still had influence over the Academy's superiors, Kirihara had been harassing him with his device, and Iki refused to fight back, believing it would be used as an excuse to expel him. In the next day's match, Kirihara starts off by activating his noble art, which covers the battlefield in an illusory forest. At first, Iki is able to deduce Kirihara's location by observing the visible arrows he fires, but Kirihara uses a new improved technique he developed, which also allows his arrows to become invisible, injuring Iki. Kirihara ridicules Iki by saying that he must win the festival in order to graduate. Enraged, Stella stands up for Iki and tells him to continue fighting. Using everything he learned about Kirihara's attacks, a rejuvenated Iki pinpoints his location with his noble art and defeats him, then collapses from exhaustion. At the hospital, Iki is met by Stella and he confesses his feelings for her. Initially embarrassed by the confession, she then kisses his cheek. The two then promise to meet and fight each other in the final match of the festival. 2 weeks have passed since Iki's battle with Kirihara. Iki has progressed through the following matches with ease, quickly losing his school nickname of the worst one and gaining the new nickname of another one and becoming popular with the other students, volunteering to mentor them in perfecting their strength using what he learned about swordsmanship. However, Stella becomes frustrated when Iki isn't paying enough attention to her during the time since they became a couple. Iki later takes her, Shizuku, Alice, and his followers to the local swimming pool for more training. There, Shizuku and Alice discuss about the former's affections towards Iki despite their biological relation. Meanwhile, after talking about her and Iki's relationship to classmate Kagami Kusakabe, Stella and Iki get into a fight after she reveals her misinterpretation that Iki no longer likes her, which he quickly denies. After the two cool down and settle out their problem, Iki suggests they both blurt out what they want to do right now with each other, and Stella agrees. When the two both want to kiss, they happily do so. On the way back, Iki and Stella are informed that their next opponents are members from the student council. As Iki and Stella continue to make progress in the selection matches, Iki notices he is being stalked by a female student who eventually identifies herself as Ayase Ayatsuji, the daughter of Kaito Ayatsuji, a famous swordsman. She had been hoping to ask Iki to help her improve her swordsmanship, but was unable to approach him directly because of her fear of men, androphobia. He agrees to help her, to the surprise of both Stella and Shizuku. During training, he deduces that Ayase's problem lies in her imitation of her father's style, which is impossible to accomplish. He then proposes that since she is now fully dedicated to imitating her father's style and cannot utilize any other technique, she must adjust her position by understanding her anatomy. With this in mind, Ayase is able to land a hit on Iki with ease. While accompanying Iki and Ayase home, Stella asks Shizuku if she is jealous of Ayase, and she replies that she isn't, then hopes that Stella will always take care of Iki and never betray him. One night, while having dinner with Ayase, Iki and Stella meet Kurado Kurashiki, a blazer who knows Ayase and despises swordsmen. He begins harassing Ayase and then injures an unresisting Iki when he stands up for her. Afterwards, the trio is approached by Utaka Misogi and Kanada Todokubara, members of the Hagen Academy Student Council, who commend Iki for not retaliating against Kurado. As they walk back home, Iki and Ayase are informed that their next festival opponents will be each other. The following night, Iki meets up with Ayase on the school rooftop at her request. Ayase and Iki meet up on the rooftop, only for Ayase to jump off, prompting Iki to use his noble art to save her. Ayase reveals that she planned to prevent Iki from using his abilities during the match since he can only use it once every 24 hours. Now weak and exhausted, Iki somehow makes it back to his room where Stella, who is having a perverted dream, awakens and helps Iki. Now, Iki has to fight Ayase without his abilities and on a battlefield rigged with traps that Ayase set. However, Iki, who has learned why Ayase is so determined, still wants to help her regain her pride. Despite sustaining serious damage, Iki is not only able to see through and defeat Ayase's technique to win, but also to break through to her and offer his help so that she could regain what she has lost. Accompanied by Stella and Ayase, Iki goes to Ayase's family dojo and challenges Kurashiki to a duel to reclaim the dojo. As the fight progresses, Iki takes some damage from Kurashiki's Orochimaru, reminding Ayase of her father's fight with Kurashiki, which hurts her internally. When Ayase wants to stop the fight, Stella stops Ayase, telling her that she won't be able to get the dojo back if she does, and that Iki is actually having fun and enjoying the fight, just like her father did. Ayase then realizes that the apology her father gave at the end of the fight was to Kurashiki for not being able to execute his final move and collapsing midway in the match. Using Ayase's father's secret technique himself, Iki wins the match and restores the dojo and the Ayatsuji Ito style to Ayase. Later, Ayase confesses her foul play to the school and her father regains consciousness in the hospital. The director sends Iki and Stella to a training camp. Stella is initially excited, believing she now gets to spend some time alone with Iki, but it turns out they were sent to help the student council with cleaning up the training field. After cleaning, Stella insists in climbing up the mountains to view the waterfall with Iki despite having a fever. Caught in a sudden storm, they take refuge in an abandoned lodge and Stella's soaked clothing leads to an embarrassing situation to stripping her. Later, they're attacked by a puppet user blazer who controls golems, but the attack is foiled by the student council members while student council president Toka Todo herself deals with the blazer. Meanwhile, Shizuku returns to Kurogane Mansion to face her father and learns that her next opponent will be Toka Todo. Shizuka versus Student Council President Toka Todo! Iki and Stella are worried because they've seen Toka's power for themselves. Shizuka is determined to win to prove that she's strong enough to stand beside her brother against everyone, especially the Kurogane family, but Toka is calm and collected. As the battle progresses, Shizuka realizes that Toda is faster and stronger than her, so she opts for a defensive weapon and long-range water/ice attacks. She covers the arena in ice to give herself a terrain advantage, but Toka is able to see through her attacks. When Toka demonstrates the ability to instantly close the gap with her trackless step, Shizuka fills the arena with a thick mist to use her final attack against Toka, but unfortunately loses the match to Toka's attack. The ethics committee, which is controlled by the Kurogane family and Akaza, creates a scandal by photographing Stella and Ikki kissing on school grounds. Ikki later gets arrested and is placed in a special prison owned by the Kurogane family, where he is continually interrogated and forced to fight the selection matches, even while being imprisoned. Despite the odds against him, Ikki continues to win his matches. During one of his hearings, he appeals to speak to his father, which, to everyone's amazement, is granted. However, his father tells him to quit the selection process. If Ikki wins, he would cause unrest in his father's organization by inspiring those without magical ability to aim higher. Ikki is distraught that his father still refuses to acknowledge him. However, Yuri-sensei slips him a lock of Stella's hair, reminding him of his promise to fight Stella in the 7 Stars Sword Art Festival. The ethics committee informs Ikki that his final opponent in the selection matches will be Toka Todo, and if he loses, he will have to give up his dream. Ikki's final match against Toka Todo is to be televised to the whole world. Stella and Alice win their final matches and spots at the 7 Stars Battle Festival. Even though exhausted and wounded from his prior matches, and ill treatment in prison and haunted by self-doubt, Ikki arrives at the arena in time, cheered on by everyone at Hagen Academy. Toka Todo, as well as everyone else, knows that the fight is fixed, but still wants to test Ikki's resolve to fight for the weak. He defeats Toka Todo, shocking Akaza.
僕自身の挑戦だ。こ
の最強の雷キリで
第7飛剣ライト
雷キリ
最初から分かっている。彼女が強いことも1分もいらない。1秒あれば十分だ。魂を研ぎ澄ませ駆け抜けろ極限の一瞬を。
Refusing to accept the outcome of the match, Akaza tries to attack Ikki, but Stella runs to his rescue and easily knocks off Akaza along the way. As Stella is near him, he proposes to her while it is still being broadcast to the entire world. Then, the Emperor of Vermilion telephones Ikki's father and suggests that their children should not be burdened by their parents' political goals. A ceremony is held honoring the school's 6 representatives for the 7 Stars Sword Art Festival, and Ikki is named the leader and flag bearer by Toka Todo. Ikki is later seen talking with Stella about his proposal, but before anything can happen, Shizuka and Alice arrive. Shizuka proceeds to create new rules to teach Stella how to become a bride, but this further enrages Stella, who believes some of the rules are made up and retaliates with her own rules. Thank you for sticking until the end. Subscribe for more videos like this, and I hope to see you in the next one.